Hello, 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 and welcome to A Winning World, where we look to inspire, encourage, and bring hope while lifting our world and sharing and showing that we are all united and we are family. And looks like we are winning. We're here, we're alive, we're well, and as long as we have breath in our bodies, guess what? There's a plan and a purpose for our lives. And I want to jump right in. We have some amazing information for you all today. We've heard about many different areas of um, where the COVID has been kind of doing some devastating things, but there are some people and some, areas that we're not getting full information on. So prayerfully, this will be an eye opener, and let's work together to bring what is needed to all that are in this world. So I'm going to cut this short and welcome Kit to A Winning World. Welcome, Kit.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for having me.
How are you doing?
Well, I'm grateful. That's what I feel right now. I'm just grateful to be in the position that I'm in and in a
Yes.
position to help. So,
Yes. And Kit, where are you from?
at the moment, I am in northern Arizona on the Hopi Reservation. The reservation is located at the heart, actually, of the Navajo Nation, which
Okay.
actually spans 4 states. So, northern Arizona, 2 hours from Flagstaff, Arizona, 1.5 hours from Winslow and Tuba City.
Well, our hats go off to all of our teachers. Thank you for your service and what you're doing, because I know it's different having to do things over Zoom versus being in a classroom. I can
Oh,
only imagine. How are you managing with that?
I have to thank my teaching experience in Asia. 7 years of online teaching has definitely paid off.
Okay.
So what I'm doing here is just focusing on getting the other staff comfortable with a lot of the online programs that we have to utilize now, including Galileo and Zoom.
Okay.
So yeah, it's mainly just making sure the rest of the staff are not freaking out.
Are not well, you know what? 7 years, that's the number of completion. So you completed your task to be able to come and be of benefit.
Yes, I can be useful. Thank goodness.
Yes, to your fellow colleagues, in this time, this day and this time.
Yeah,
So
use
tell us about.
TPR, hand signals.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, as I stated, we're praying with you all, and our hats go off to you, and we say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for all that you're doing for our children, and for this world, because you have a story to share with us. So, what is COVID, doing in northern Arizona at this time? What's taking place?
Well, right now, it's reached all three mesas. As of 2 days ago, we have two positive cases in First Mesa. Just for those who aren't familiar with the Hopi Nation,
Hmm.
they have three. Actually, Hopi is a tribe. It's actually the tribe that um, is one of the few that has their original land. So
Hmm.
they never had really to move. It's just that their territory shrank and shrank as more tribes were placed in this area.
Okay.
This is a part of history we were not taught, and we're trying to correct that right now. So the main task is actually building it into our curriculum from a federal level. But right now, there are three main mesas. So you have First Mesa, Second Mesa, and Third Mesa. The
Okay.
reservation itself only has three major stores, and there's also Mankapi, and which is near Tuba City, but
Okay.
it's farther out. So, but um, what people don't understand about why it's spread here when it's such a rural area is
Hmm.
that there are not enough jobs and stores to provide the resources that this today's lifestyle entails,
Hmm.
like filtered water, technology, a job that pays the rent. So there aren't enough jobs for the population on the reservation, so they have to leave the reservation to do uh, you know to buy produce, for example. The stores here don't really hold healthy options for them. It's all canned goods,
Mm-hmm.
microwave dinners,
Mm-hmm.
you know, candy and chips and pop. You can't really get like a fresh apple or bananas that, well, I mean, like, you can get some produce, but it's
Right. It's limited.
yes, it is, you know, and by the time it arrives, it's also close to being spoiled. So it's there's a need for, like, myself as a non-native resident on the school campus. I
Mm-hmm.
personally, because I do not want to infect anyone here,
Right.
and I want the resources that are here on the reservation to go to those who primarily need it and have no vehicles to drive off the reservation.
Mm-hmm.
Walking and running are very much deep-seated, rooted into the Hopi culture.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone knows about the Pueblo Revolt, that's how they freed themselves from Spanish rule during that time in the 1800s by
Okay.
running. 1600, sorry, 1680 was when the Pueblo Revolt took place. Sorry,
So
16. But yes, so like you, it really, they have no choice. You know,
mm-hmm.
for essential runs, they have to go off reservation to Winslow or Gallup or Flagstaff to get to, and they're used to bulk buying because that's, you know, they can't just keep spending $60 or $100 for grocery trips twice a week.
Right.
That's way so you know, and we're all in that situation. But you know, we can't drink the water here, for example. There's arsenic in it. It's
Oh,
not safe to cook and drink.
okay.
So we have 5-gallon jugs that we refill and haul back to the reservation. So you
Mm-hmm.
see, it is very difficult. The tribes themselves are putting down curfews and discouraging people from going off reservation to do leisurely things. They
Mm-hmm.
do accept, you know, supply runs, but
Mm-hmm.
it's something that was unavoidable from the very beginning because so many reside or work in off reservation, and because it's a very family centered culture,
Mm-hmm.
it's so difficult for them, you know, to not check in on their relatives, to not check in on their elders. Again,
Right.
Native American culture calls for the passing of knowledge in a bit of a linear practice where the elders pass down this knowledge. So
Mm-hmm.
culture, language, and any spiritual inherited information has to come from the elders. And if
Mm-hmm.
they are the ones right now getting sick,
Yes. So,
so
and with that, what are the numbers looking like? Because I'm hearing what you're saying is that they have to go so far out. It's a rural area. They don't have a lot of the necessities that we may find, you know, are essentials in the cities, what have you. So when the disease is taken back into an area like this, I can only imagine. So share with us what is COVID-19 doing to you know that area for you know on the
whew. Okay, so these are numbers projected by Hopi Healthcare. It is the only hospital on the Hopi reservation for a
okay.
population of 10,000 people.
Okay.
We have 35 positive cases as of yesterday. That gets updated daily.
Mhm,
We have 76 negative cases, and
mhm,
22 we're waiting for the results, and 20 were tested yesterday.
mhm,
So these are regularly updated by Hopi Healthcare or IHS and
mhm,
is broadcasted through the Hopi tribe
mhm.
and KUII, which is the Hopi Native American radio station,
Radio. Mhm,
88.1.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, KUII.net broadcasts all this information. So, you know, what the world is hearing, of course, are the numbers in Navajo Nation, but we're completely overlooked. Hopi is
Mhm.
completely overlooked because we're within the Navajo Nation.
Okay.
And they don't include those numbers. They don't include those numbers on their news broadcasted for Hopi. You know, it's just so yeah.
Okay.
Right now, the what's really hurting the community, the elders who hold this ancient knowledge, you know, they are very susceptible.
Mhm,
Just with the health conditions on the reservations. Native
Mhm.
Americans have high rates of diabetes,
Mhm.
of liver failure, of a whole slew of
Oh.
health issues. But like, how did they become diabetic? Alcohol was never a Native American thing. It
Mhm.
was actually, and this is something that not many Americans know.
Mhm.
And back then, also, there was limited information. But if you would like the sources, I can share from the Smithsonian Native Knowledge 360 website.
Mhm.
Basically, codfish oil was used as a vitamin but mixed with alcohol,
Mm.
and it became addictive. They thought it was medicine, and they took it into their systems.
Wow.
Also, so there was welfare whiskey. So it was whiskey that was given again to
Wow.
the
Yeah.
native people. It was not sold, it was given outright. And the people, after decades and decades, because of their very depressing situation and being not recognized, there's no representation. You hear the news today, and you'll hear what's going on in African American communities and Mexican communities, but you don't hear mention. Only now that Navajo Nation has a high death rate are Native issues splashed on the news. But
We haven't, and I guess because of the area where we don't
right,
have the tribes,
right,
you
because
know,
Florida,
necessarily down in this area. But I would like to know even what those Native American, I mean, the Navajo numbers are. Do you have some of those numbers?
yes, I have the numbers here. So for a Navajo Nation, well, Arizona,
Mhm.
because
Right,
a big
Arizona.
chunk of Navajo Nation is in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
But so Arizona as a whole, okay,
Mm-hmm.
has 5,459 cases of COVID-19. That's
Mm-hmm.
statewide. The statewide number of deaths right now is 229.
Mm-hmm.
For Navajo Nation members, they have 1,282 numbers of positive COVID-19 cases and
Mm-hmm.
49 confirmed deaths.
Mm-hmm.
That these are off reservation. So the reservation deaths, uh, I'm not the official spokesperson for the Navajo Nation. This is all
Right.
information that's taken from the KUYI 88.1 FM Hopi Radio.
Yes.
So I would much prefer that I give you like a resource from the Navajo Nation
Yes.
itself. I
Yes.
know that President Nez is constantly posting on the Navajo website.
Mm-hmm.
I recommend, like, anyone who feels concerned or may even be connected to a tribal member. There
Mm-hmm.
are 573 registered tribes across
Mm-hmm.
the United States. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even know this before I started teaching this subject.
Mm-hmm.
And there are still more tribes trying to be recognized as a people, which is very sad. But um, of the 573 tribes, Navajo Nation right now is the heaviest hit. And it
Mm-hmm.
is also third in the country right now in terms of deaths.
Mm.
So, just generally speaking,
Yes. Yeah. Now,
after New York and somewhere else, I forget.
what drew you into the teaching the history of the Native Americans? How did you
You,
get into this?
it was a happy accident, but they were really in need of social studies teachers and English teachers at the time. The
Mm-hmm.
students, his Native American history teacher kind of just left in the middle of the school year.
Okay.
So that's how the subject itself dropped on my lap. I've always been interested in it. And I personally didn't, like, this is how I saw the way I took it was, this is a way for me as a non-Native American
Mhm.
to bridge my information gap, to
Okay.
fill in the blanks that I didn't have, and to help in some way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
and I
So,
am American. It's like, it's you think you'd know your own history, but I'm like, okay. So,
yeah.
but
Also, a lot of things that are left out of the main, what we consider the main books. So it's good to
yes.
know that there are other books. I would like to, eventually, I know we won't get into that right now, but I like
Mm.
to get some of that information that we can um,
Absolutely. I've been
connect
working
to
with
this.
Haskell. Yes, I've been working with Haskell University. So right now, even a curriculum for the subject is non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps there are some that universities and intellectual institutions create on their own, but
Mm-hmm.
also, like, what is the credibility of the course, and where is that information coming from? Is it
Mm-hmm.
actually coming from consolidated tribal information,
Mm-hmm.
or is it an outsider's look into the native world, and we're making our own assumptions and judgments of it? So, and that's what I'm noticing on the university level. It's more of just like an elective subject, and I'm like, um how can we call ourselves American if we don't know the stories or narratives of the first
Yeah.
people? And, like any conquered people, adjusting to the evolution of a growing nation, we have, yeah, to the victor, the spoils, right? To the
Yeah.
victor, the history.
Mm-hmm.
They can rewrite it the way they want,
Exactly.
unfortunately. So
Yeah.
I think just me right now wanting, or the interest is basically, my own background as a second generation immigrant
Mm-hmm.
from the Philippines, and growing up in both cultures.
Okay.
How is it I can't understand my own Americanness without trying to understand what this country became, and what,
Yeah.
learning from its past mistakes, my own identity crisis, kind of, so there's just a lot of reasons why. And I'm also just really drawn to
Yeah.
Native American way of life. It's
Yeah.
very it's spiritual, it's connected to the earth, it's
Mm-hmm.
connected to life. And there is no word in any native culture that says possess the land, own the earth. There's no word in
Oh,
Lakota. There's no word in Hopi. There's no word in Zuni. There's no word in Chinook. There's
wow.
so it's like in Cherokee or
Mm-mm.
Chumash. Like, there is no word to own the land, because it's the earth that gave them life. It's the earth that provides them with food, with shelter, with clothing, with everything they need to survive. So
Mm.
I think that's mainly why I'm an advocate right now for these people and this way of life.
Well, I think it's amazing because I heard you make the statement. What was it you said earlier?
To
As
the
far as the
victor.
mistakes, you can't correct something that you don't look at as a mistake. So everything in some senses are looked at as though it was a right and it was what was supposed to be done. So there's no respect for all when it comes to our history and truly understanding it. But that's what a winning world is all about. We're sharing the good news
Exactly.
of
Yes.
how everyone is winning. I want to know, like
They
you
are
said,
still alive. These people are
yes,
still here. So
yes,
despite the fact, despite the colonization,
yes,
despite the organized, and I will say this, it's
yes,
basically organized genocide,
yes,
like, they are alive. So yes, they are still winning. And the fact that they are existing is their resistance to
yes,
whatever negativity there is in the world.
yes,
And so, we just have to amplify their voice, amplify their
yes,
light.
yes.
That's
And
all
help
we
what
can
we
do.
can, because knowing this and hearing this, maybe and prayerfully we can take it to the next level to be able to bring in resources
Yes.
to actually be of service and be a family and let them know that they're not alone. Actually, we're all, those of us that have Native American blood running in our veins, we're all family, and
Exactly.
it's what it is. So let me ask you this: what are some of the winning practices that you've seen? I know you say how they're connected to the earth, but tell me, in the midst of everything that is going on, how you all are winning in this season. What is taking place to continue that spirit of love and connection and growth in the community.
Ooh, I'm excited to share this with you. Well, this is what we would have been doing this week if we were still on campus, but
Yes.
we are right now, the Hopi families are planting corn.
Oh,
So this is a dry farming technique. So the winning world technique that I've been witnessing here in Hopi is how they are able to grow food in the desert. They
Mm,
use very little water. They do not irrigate. So
mm,
they actually use their bodies, their voices, their spirits, their souls to pray for the water. They
mm,
pray for the water.
mm.
They don't take water from other people. They don't take water
Yes.
from other sources. What I
Yes.
notice is that any source of water, a spring, they treat it like a shrine, something very sacred. So,
Mm-hmm.
it makes me stop and think the water that's coming out of my spout right now is so precious to them. It's so
Mm,
precious that they don't, some still don't have running water in their homes for that same
mm.
reason.
For that reason, okay.
So they have a community well or a community um, um, spring, and they fetch their water. They
So
work
they
for their water.
take whatever, only what is needed.
Yes, that is, and that is, and quintessentially, I'm sorry, I'm gonna ask. Oh no, I can't right now. I forgot. I wanted to show you guys a huma pouch. So they pray with the corn as well. The food that
Okay.
provides them uh, the what they use to pray is what they grow. So I'm going to show you. So that's another winning practice. This is how they pray.
Okay.
But again, it's so connected to the land. This is cornmeal.
Okay.
This
Okay.
is so one time they use their food. They have a reverence for their food that I and animals and just everything and every breathing creature that I have never really experienced
Mm-hmm.
in the modern world,
Mm-hmm.
like a reverence for life in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I remember taking one of my students to the close up program in Washington, D.C. He had never ridden a plane before.
Mm-hmm.
He took out his patch of huma and was sprinkling it on the aisles of the
Oh.
airplane seat because he was so nervous that the plane was going to crash.
So he was
So,
praying.
yes, the stewardess looked over my shoulders like, what is he doing? I'm like, no, no, no. He's praying. It's his first time on a plane. She was so kind. But you see, and when we went to the program, this same student who was never on a plane before refused to use an elevator. He walked up the stairs and down the stairs 5 flights every day for this week of learning how the U.S. government works. So Close Up is a program that teaches high
Mm,
school and middle school students
mm,
how the U.S. government works.
mm.
So this student was so proud, well, not just proud, but humble in a way,
Yeah.
unapologetically Hopi. I will
Uh,
be Hopi even in the big city, you know. So
yes. Oh, I love it. So
yeah,
the
so that's what I
cornmeal, they
noticed.
use that because that is their main
Source of food.
sort.
It gives them so much life, so they use it to pray as well. And
Right.
it nourishes the soil too, putting cornmeal back into the soil. So
Okay.
when they take something from the ground, they put huma back in.
Okay.
When they're harvesting, they also sprinkle huma back in.
Mm,
So it's like when they take water, they sprinkle huma. And that in that respect, like when you
mm.
harvest your food, you remember you only take what you need, you use what you need, and you will be content and happy. So
You make a very good point. I remember I did an interview a few, maybe last week sometime, and I remember saying that, in this time that people have lost so much, it's my prayer that they realize that really they've been living with an overage of things that they really didn't need, and can make that adjustment and live life in a way to where you're saving more, you can actually help more, serve more, be a benefit. Because even in the scriptures, when you look at the Bible, um, it talks about, if you're of a, if anyone that is in your family, in your tribe, in your group, everyone is supposed to be taken care of and there is no lack,
it takes a
you know,
village.
it's
It
no
takes a
lack.
village to raise
But
a
what
child.
we
Yep.
see, it's different. That's not the same leadership that we have,
Mm.
whereas if you're in that house, there should be no lack.
Absolutely.
And if you have too many that you can't do that, then you may need to shift some, and give them another leader, just as, Joseph, not Joseph, Moses' father-in-law,
Mm. I think
Jethro. He said that, if you keep trying to take on all these people, you're going to kill yourself. So he
Yeah.
said, you only take care of those major things, but let, one take 100, one take 50, one take, what they can rightfully take and be responsible for, to make sure everyone has what they need. And that's something that you don't really hear people speaking on. But that's what the essence that's the essence of life. That's how we're supposed to be living. If we're in a family,
Exactly.
if we're connected, they even, your servants, your household, immediate household, everybody in that you're leading are supposed to be provided for. If they're, everyone's putting in, and there's always enough if we would do it
Mhm.
right. So hearing how they, manage that, I really pray that people kind of take a step back and realize that God is talking and He's wanting you to get the message that we've been overdoing it.
Yes, a little bit. Yeah. So it's really difficult. It's so difficult for for them to even balance these two worlds, you see.
Uh oh,
So
I lost you.
one world. Hello?
Uh-huh. I lost you
Hello?
there.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I could hear you.
Okay.
Couldn't see you.
Okay. So, yes. So, right now, like they're balancing two worlds. You have
Yes.
the modern world, the Western world, or the developed, the city life, all these things. School is actually included in that modern world.
Mhm.
So, linear time, that's one world. But then
Yeah.
you have their native world,
Yes.
and time is not linear. We'll get there when we get there is kind of the attitude toward it. you know they do things very, it's cyclical, it's very they take their time with things, but then also, they're I don't know, I have to show you some things, and this is why I
Okay.
brought these over, but um it's another world. They see the world differently.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is not a kachina. This is just art that one of my students made. But
Mm-hmm.
this is how they depict,
Beautiful.
let's say, the face of a woman or a little girl.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this is their main livelihood. So creating carving dolls,
Mm-hmm.
pottery,
Mm-hmm.
um, and basket weaving. I don't have the basket with me right now, but I have the pottery.
Beautiful.
So, like their understanding of reality, their understanding of history and time is very different. So
Mm,
to balance both worlds in a healthy way is very difficult. And they have to do it while living on a reservation,
mm.
and also doing it while they're a hidden minority.
Yeah, it's
So,
true. And not talked about at all. I
that's
mean,
the thing. We have to do, I think our mission here, especially, hopefully you can do this with Winning World, the way we can win is when everyone's represented. When everyone can say I'm an American and be happy about it.
yes.
and 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 when we honor, yeah, we honor their way of life.
Yeah.
To be on these reservations, but to see right now, the reason why they created the reservations was so that they can continue their
Mm,
tribal and their cultural practices. But it's
yes.
nearly impossible because they're required to go to do things our way, I
Yeah.
guess, the non-native way. And
Yeah.
there's paperwork and all these things.
Mm,
I just realized also at the hospital there are some who don't know how to write still,
mm,
and
mm,
they use their fingerprint, or they kind of leave their mark
mhm, mm.
instead. So it's like these organized systems are also foreign to them, but they still have to use them here on the reservation instead of
Yeah.
just letting them live their life the way they want to. But
Mm-hmm.
most tribes do not live on the original land their ancestors have created practices for.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty sure, just like the tribes that are there in Florida, they were
Mm-hmm.
made to move there all across the East Coast
Mm.
So many tribes in Oklahoma are part of the 87 tribes who were moved during the removal, the Trail of Tears.
Mhm.
Okay, this was Andrew Jackson time, but they were made to live in barren plots of land that you can't grow anything on. But then the U.S. government would find ways to help them make a living, like teaching them silver working or ranching. And now we have these stereotypes that this is what Native Americans really do. No, it was assigned to them by the government.
Wow.
So, and like Hopi were never silver workers.
Yeah.
Navajo were never silver workers,
Wow.
but the government gave them this way, a lot of and a lot of their artifacts, a lot of their sacred tools are being locked up in the Smithsonian Museum, in the museum in Chicago, and uh, to be honest, Indiana Jones and Hollywood did not do them any favors.
Mm.
The Peter Pan has depicted Tiger Lily, and that's our opinion of what Native American culture is. It is not at all.
Mm.
But I have seen some improvements though at the Smithsonian Museum for the American Indian in DC. They
Mhm.
are trying to shift the outlook now. And I don't know if you knew this, but like for example, did you know the state of Massachusetts is named after an Algonquin tribe?
I didn't.
So you see, there's several states, there are cities and roads and so many things that use Native American terminology, and we have no
Mhm.
clue. Did you
Mhm.
know also that the U.S. government is actually modeled after a Native American form of government?
I can believe it. When I tell you, even the Bible itself was taken. Um, they only mention King James and all these things, but when you go back to the history of Africa, the same stories. And when I read the word, it literally is how Africans are living today. They still, go by these
Okay.
same practices, but we're not taught that. Everything is shifted,
Exactly.
and the names are changed and everything else.
Exactly.
So it
So
is
rule
what
of
it
thumb.
is. But you know what? One thing that can never be taken, and I think is the thing that keeps us all strong, is our spiritual basis. Like you said, they pray and they literally have a connection to the creator, to our God, like no one else. And those of us that make that connection, it is the most beautiful thing, because irrespective to what is thrown your way, irrespective to what comes, we always overcome.
Right.
and
Absolutely.
and it's about your belief, and it's all spiritual. Everything is spiritual.
And your
And
resolve,
yeah.
like you can, it's another thing to believe, but it's also you have to put actions to your prayers.
Yes.
That's one thing that I found very beautiful when I attend some of their ceremonies. I've been
Yeah.
very fortunate to be welcome
Yes.
during some ceremonies, but to see them use their whole body for their prayer, to use their voices for their prayer, the effort
Mhm.
they put into it. And I was raised Catholic, so and my idea of prayer is I'm on my knees. I'm on my knees, but I see them and they're using their whole body and they're dancing the whole day. I don't know how 16 hours, 48 hours on my feet moving out of it. Like
Yes.
I one of my students taught myself and my husband a butterfly maiden dance. I could only do it for
Oh,
5 minutes. I was dripping.
I bet it was
So,
beautiful. Oh my goodness.
like I get it, and these kids have to balance this type of like ceremonial schedule on top of school.
Yeah.
So they
Wow.
do ceremonies until 2 a.m. in the morning. They still have to get up at 5 and get on the bus, be at school at 7:30.
And
You
we're
know,
complaining because we get to sleep 8, 12 hours in the nighttime.
um, yeah. So it's just yeah. Were there any other questions that you had or?
No, is there something else that you would like to actually say to the world, encouraging them, something that inspires?
Well, I am not. I think what I really wish the world knew was what's going on and how they can actually help. When
Yeah.
you see something wrong, say something about it. When you stay quiet,
Yeah.
that's how things get overlooked. So right now, they've been for hundreds of years. Native Americans have been trying to tell their story, and so many times it's been brushed under the rug. So what I think, really what I want to say here is that we non-Native Americans have to tell the world that we actually care. We want to know this information.
Yes.
If the
Yes.
government hears this or the rest of the world hears it, they'll have no choice but to put it on the agenda.
Yes.
And that's if there is one thing that I've also realized is that you know if you want to make a difference, you have to start with the younger generation. They are the
Yes.
ones who's going to be carrying the torch 10, 20, 30, 50,
Mhm.
100 years from now.
Mhm.
So we need to come together and teach each other,
Mhm.
because we're in a melting pot of cultures already. The
Yeah.
bridges are being built. It's becoming a very, very blurred reality, blurred lines everywhere.
Mhm.
And technology is speeding things up. So if there's any time to do it, the time is now.
Yes. Yes.
It's helping them by saying something, because even any human, I think, in the world, when they know someone supports them, when they
Mhm.
know there's someone in their corner aside from themselves, it gives them just an inkling of hope, a
Yes.
drop of liquid courage that basically helps them, propel forward. And I want so much for the hurting to stop. it
Yes.
it, it hurts me as an American to know that we're doing this to a beautiful group of people, and that they are losing their sense of self, just like I'm Filipino American. And I've my husband's even pointed it out to me. He's Caucasian American with Irish and French background, but it's he was like, what is the Philippine culture? We don't really know. It's like we were colonized by the Spanish, and then the US took over, and then, like, it yeah, it's we were, for as long as I can remember, we were like a Catholic nation. And then I come to realize, so these are earrings from our own indigenous people,
Mhm.
but this was news to me. Like, so I'm like, I don't even know my own indigenous roots. I don't know what my country was like prior to colonization. I just don't. And that's because the Spanish had us for almost 500 years. And then war, we were right in the middle of a lot of wars. So I think I want to definitely end with a Hopi proverb, though, that has really helped enrich my experience here, and to try to understand and connect the significance of history and what we can do with, past knowledge, not just sitting and festering in the negative underbelly
Yes.
of the story, but how do you move forward in a positive way? How do you use this information to make positive change and to make this world the place we want to have the next generation living in, you
Well,
know?
before you do the proverb for that, I want, and because I really want you to end it with that. What are you and your husband doing, in this time to manage with the COVID and to win, with yourselves? And how is it being home all the time together?
Oh, well, he's been my rock. He's the one, like, motivating me when I second guess myself. But what we do to stay sane is basically we're lucky and fortunate. We can take walks in the trails in the area here. It's very, very beautiful. And then, and still adhere to social distancing. We're
Mhm.
also doing Qigong, which is a breathing meditative practice. And
Mhm.
then we also do yin yoga. So it's yochi, so qigong plus yin yoga.
Now, what is the
A lot
qigong?
of qigong is it's
Um,
meditative. It's meditative. It's a martial art, actually.
okay.
But it's more on meditation and breathing, similar to Tai Chi.
Okay.
You're basically you're concentrating on letting your energy flow,
Okay.
harnessing energy to heal your body, to keep your body happy and healthy,
Hmm.
mind, body, and spirit.
Hmm.
And then uh, yin yoga is also a non-evasive form of yoga that's heavy on, again, meditation and really gathering the chi. So combining the two. Oh, and it also deals with trauma. So
Okay.
any trauma that you hold within the body. So with all the stress that's going on now, we have a lot of trauma, all of us, right?
Hmm.
So and it's very difficult even to teach, like let alone my students learning. How do you teach a child who's traumatized by the current global situation?
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
have to put myself in that mindset.
Hmm.
And so exercising, keeping active, also diet. So we've been trying to eat fruits and vegetables when we do supply runs. We make sure that we get a percentage of fresh produce if possible. I'm struggling.
Oh, we lost her. Let's see if she'll come back. It's great information here. Hopefully she'll return. As you can see, everyone is dealing with this time in this season in many different ways, and there's still much to be learned, much to be taught. And I'm excited that we've had this chance to actually have someone talk to us about the Native American um, tribes and what is taking place on some of them, because as for where I am located, that's not something that is actually in our news. Oh, I think we've gotten quite a bit of great information from Kit on more things that need to be done. And at the end of the day, the beautiful thing is understanding that, wow, though life has happened, we're still so blessed with all the things that we have at our fingertips, including just running water. I mean, when you think about a people that don't even have proper water, they can't even drink the water. But then, even with what they can use for whatever they're needing, to um, till and grow the land, uh, they they use only what is needed. It's not an overage, and they're very mindful of those things. So it doesn't look like she's going to make it back into us, but I want to thank you all. Okay, look, maybe she's coming in now. Let's see. I think she's here now.
Sorry about that.
Oh, there she is.
My phone died. Sorry. So I had to
Oh,
switch
it's so,
onto my laptop. Can you hear me okay
yes,
though?
I can hear you. Yes,
Okay.
While
yes.
the health officer order
Wait.
doesn't extend to the populations
Is
that were
there
specifically mentioned,
There's
there are
something
correctional
open,
environments who
open
are, who are
on
homeless
your
who are
laptop.
absolutely going to be.
okay, hang on. Oh, there, that's sorry, my
It's okay.
technology.
I'm glad you made it back.
Yes, I'm so
That
sorry.
was great information. Oh my
I
goodness.
know, I forgot what was I but it's
You
kind
were
of
talking you were talking about the trauma part of I think it's the yoga, the yin yoga
um,
that you do.
yes, so and actually he's doing it right now if you hear that in the background. But that, I it just helps me calm down. I have respiratory issues as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really helping me stay calm
Mm-hmm.
by mastering my breathing. Also, we do lots of art therapy. So right now the desk that I'm using, behind it, I started a little mini mural. I
Okay.
love doing art therapy, and I'm an artist too, aside from a teacher.
Okay.
But yeah, that's, I think, prayer, yin yoga, staying away from the news a little bit, just making sure that I filter what news I'm watching.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, I've realized also just trying to read, staying away from my screens, basically creating a schedule.
Yes.
It's really difficult to
create normalcy when I don't have my work schedule. So what we try to do now is like, okay, this is our exercise schedule. Every day we do this. We take our morning walks. We go for an afternoon walk. We do our yoga and qigong, and I'll have time for knitting.
Okay.
I've been able to catch up on lots of sewing projects that I've kind of left on the wayside. Lots of pairs of shorts that my husband forgot he had. I put it in my sewing bin and I totally completely forgot them for a whole year. So, yeah, that's how we're keeping safe, trying to keep each other positive. For the first couple weeks, it was a little rough, but like everyone, like all of a sudden you have so much time together.
Yes, yes. So do you all wear the mask and the gloves and everything too when you go
Yes,
out?
if I can show you, where did I put it? Honey, could you pass my mask on the table? So I didn't have any cloth to sew masks, but I did have painting canvas. So what I created for my husband and I were masks. He's still not enjoying wearing the mask. I do. So I have a mask here with just
Okay.
materials I've had around the house.
Okay.
So yeah, we have to wear, even in the stores here. They know I'm Filipino, but they're scared. So it just gives people generally a peace of mind to see that I'm wearing PPE, and they know I'm an outsider and stuff. So there's already been a lot of death here without COVID.
Wow.
The winter was already very difficult. So prior to the COVID-19 thing, it was already hard. So all the more, a cold can be deadly. If they have a cold right now, if they have the flu right now, and then they catch corona, if they have diabetes right now, if they have cancer right now, if they have, different types of health issues right now, it's a death sentence. And, like just today, I found out that one of my students lost his father last week. We don't know if it's corona related. I have several students who have parents in the hospital right now. I was even sharing that with some of the Up With People community. It's because they contributed to a field trip that allowed my students to watch an Up With People show that was in Flagstaff, and they got to meet some of my students and their families. And now these people are sick. So it's just it's a very humbling and sobering reality that we're in right now. And at first I was scared for myself because, like I said, I had respiratory issues, but then now I'm more worried for everyone else. I'm really worried for the elderly. They are the keepers of knowledge here. They are keepers of language, and the young generation is struggling to learn Hopi. They're struggling to learn even Navajo and Dene. So if their only source for that passes away,
Wow.
because
Wow.
it's gonna disappear. It's just gone. You can't. So they don't have many textbooks also on Hopi language. Privileged information, because if you can speak Hopi, you will understand the Kachinas, and you have to earn that right. And there's just no time anymore. The people are leaving at a really quick rate, and it's really scary. So
Wow. Well, it's beautiful to hear what you all are doing to keep winning within the household. And I know you had shared with me earlier that something about leaving food at a grocery store. Yeah, I would like to hear more of what you're doing to actually still benefit and serve the community even in this time.
yes, absolutely. So, in with all the social distancing precautions, we're still trying to find ways to help out, but still adhere to the CDC guidelines. And what's amazing was that we're finding out how, okay, so if I go to a local store, I can purchase items for a family and leave it in their name with the receipt, and the store personnel, since it's a small community,
Yes,
everyone
yes.
knows everybody. So for example, our dear culinary teacher, Hopi food teacher, she has a huge family right now. Everyone's home, of course, because they came back to the reservation because now everyone doesn't have work. And well, so she ran out of flour for several days. And this is, you see, this is something I didn't mention earlier.
Okay.
But fry bread is not a Native American thing. The
Mhm.
reason why fry bread was created was the government only gave them sugar, salt, flour, and oil to survive on.
Wow.
Their food was just a sack of flour, some salt, and oil. So what were they able to create with that? Fry bread.
Mm.
And bread, if you only consume bread and lard and fat, your body, well,
Diabetes, heart attacks, you name it,
yeah,
artery clogging.
exactly,
Yeah.
cholesterol especial. So it's like it's it's basically like the inner city, right? You can only afford to buy a rural area. It's like you can only afford to buy
Mm.
packaged processed food
Mhm.
because it's all you can afford. But anyways, that you see, so but again, it's also part of their staple food on their table to make tortillas and stuff like that, and it's so cheap. So she ran out of flour, but I was able to purchase a sack of flour for her at the local store and just informed her you can pick it up at any time, it's there for you. um, Other people also have found ways to put donations, like if you have a truck, you just park your truck backwards on your driveway and wipe down your donations, but you leave them there, you inform the people who need them, and they can come by in their vehicles and pick up the items without having social contact.
Wow,
So
that's beautiful. That is beautiful. Um,
The marketplace and the social media.
they've also embraced the marketplace on social media. So
Mhm.
like, being able to
Not
buy,
everyone.
buy and sell. Those who are tech savvy, so are
Tell
able
Puppy
to.
we're gonna have to have him on the next time too. He'll have
Yeah.
to join us.
Oh, they want you to go.
I apologize.
No,
Oh,
he's
no,
been a part of our interviews
he
all the
reminds
time,
me
but we
if I
haven't seen his
forget, he's my partner in crime, and he keeps me on my toes when I forget something, but
face.
he doesn't like being in front of the camera.
It's okay. I love it. I'm like, you know what? Let me let her know that next time he'll have to join us.
Yeah.
Part of this anyways.
We try to do our part. Brian helps the way he can, from his standpoint here. He's a veteran right now, and it's just basically volunteering on and off unofficially with the community. And of course, he's my rock. He keeps me sane. So
I
keep
love
me
it.
grounded
I
too.
can tell you all are working as one. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I would be very scared to be just alone, like Filipino American in the middle of Hopi. But yeah, I think I would be fine too. But it's
Think
just
you
he's been
would. I
such a
think you're in the midst of some really good people and they're feeling you, you're feeling them, and you're learning, you're growing. And, it seems like it may be inspiring you to do a little bit more research even on the Philippines,
yes,
so
no, exactly. Like I haven't had a desire to know more about my roots till I've really worked with the Native American community. I've worked with the Hopi and also with the Apache in Ruidoso, New Mexico. And it's made me look at you like, whoa, wow, whoa. Philippine
yeah.
history also left out a big chunk. When I looked at the Holocaust, for example, um, we focus so much on World War II in our textbook, and just generally speaking, there's the memorial, and I'm not saying that it was wrong to do that. It's absolutely right, but at the same time, it's like, well, Hitler got the idea from our reservation system here. It was part of the idea, not the whole thing, but yes, it was part. It isn't black and white.
Yeah,
Anyone wants proof?
no
Go
one's
read
saying it
Mein
out
Kampf.
loud.
But but yeah, no one says it out loud. You see, no one says
Well,
it
the
out
thing is,
loud.
we fail to see that we have a major influence on the world. And
Mhm.
there are many things that people are doing now because of what is taking place right here in America.
Exactly. So all the more we as Americans have to make a better narrative. We have to own, we have to come together as a country in the melting pot of cultures that we are now, you know. In Asia, I'll tell you this, being an American teacher teaching in Asia, they didn't want to pay me the same because I look like this. I'm
Yes.
American, but I look like this. They want blonde hair, blue eyes. So, you know, we need to change.
Brainwashing. That's
Yes,
part of the brainwashing. I don't have television in my home. I've taken television out only because it's the greatest influence. I call it the median, like medians out there.
media.
It says media, but it is the worst thing that could have been created because it shifts the mind. It just like a median, those people that deal
Someone,
with that
the
stuff,
little, yeah,
twist and change your channels, which we change channels with the little remote, and you're constantly, being manipulated,
yeah,
and you can't connect with your natural self if something else outside of yourself is always telling you who you're to be. You've
that
got
is
to take
powerful.
time
Yes,
to sit alone. And I guess when I think about it, that's part of my Native American, my granddaddy, my great granddaddy, who was full-fledged Native American, um, in me. I love to be able to sit, and I've learned this. I've actually had to come back to it. I went through some things, but now I'm back at this place, and I got rid of that median out of
I'm
my
proud of
house.
you. I'm so
So
proud of you. That is beautiful. Oh
yes,
my
this
gosh.
computer is the closest that I'm going to get to anything. I will, go online and look up things periodically, but I don't have anything. My thing is my spirituality, my God is the only one that I want directing my path. And the only way that can happen is if I'm spending time with him, quiet, meditating, and getting to know who I am and reconnecting with why I was even birthed, what I was birthed to do. And in that, I can relate. And that's why when I saw your post earlier, I reached out and I'm like, you know what, I've got to connect with her because my spirit leaped. It was something that said, it was just something within me. And I'm so thankful that I'm in this place, in this space, because it has taken some work. I had lost myself, and I can say that honestly. Now it's reconnecting and really being able to hear, what God is saying, how to move to the left, how to move to the right, or just how to sit still. Sometimes you've just got to be
How to
still.
listen, how to feel. Yes,
So
exactly.
that's where I am, and I love what it is you all are doing, and how you're able to purchase something for someone, and leave it, or even packing bags on the back, maybe with names on it, so people can pick it up, and everyone stays safe in that same
Yeah.
regard.
So, it's just
That's
you do
family.
what you can. Yes, you do what you can. And what I also notice here, everyone treats everyone as family. When I realized, oh, that's my mom, but not my blood mom, but she's my mom. So it's just like, but that's how they have like three moms. They have siblings from all different families.
Yes.
And like everyone has a different last name, but they call each other son, daughter, aunt,
Yes.
uncle, mom, dad. So, and I think that was actually a term I heard in Swahili. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a lot of people to create an environment for growth, for happiness, for well-being. Everyone contributes in their way, and that's how you step into your mission in life. You
That's it.
find out what your role is and how to contribute to that community and to live your truth. And
Yes.
that's how, again, you overstep borders, you overstep culture, you overstep, like it's beyond that. It's
Yes.
being human again,
Yes.
being respectful of everyone that has a heartbeat, being
Making sure we're not falling
respectful of.
back into Jim Crow.
My husband just said, like, just making sure we're not falling back into Jim Crow law.
Because there's been slippage.
Yeah, we've been slipping. There have been instances where people slip. Just look at the rallies and look at just misunderstandings across, and fear just being
Yeah.
kind of perpetuated, like you said,
And
through
the
the
and the
media.
fears have come from the ignorance of generations.
And that's why we need to correct that. And
Yes.
that's why I chose to step away from my career as a PR, as a marketer. I went to school for marketing actually. But
Wow.
after just a little soul searching myself too, and working with different communities and my Up With People experience, I realized, no, the mission is actually in the classroom.
Mm.
If we are able to educate and fix the ignorance, there will be less misunderstanding. There will be more understanding and more patience towards any situation anyone shares, and more tolerance towards these differences, and more acceptance towards common goals. But you see, we don't. You felt the need to find out because you didn't know. So many other Americans also were shocked at these stories, these facts. And the thing is, all the information has always been there, but our government is controlling the information that is being taught in our classroom.
Yes, yes. Well, that's why we're here. A winning world.
Empire.
Yeah. So, that
So,
I think, yeah.
a
So,
winning world is
and
here to highlight the winnings of everybody.
yes,
It's important for us to know how everyone is winning. As many as that we can connect with.
yes.
Yeah.
We want to know the stories, and we want to be able to help. If we don't know the stories, how can you even do anything about it?
And that's, okay. My students that I'm teaching specifically at Hopi High, I've realized that their communication, reading and writing levels are low also because they don't have the opportunities to use their communication in such a way. And it's actually, and it's not in their
intelligence.
their intelligence is fine. It's actually even a cultural thing, because like I explained how you get initiated into Hopi culture. I want to be careful with how I explain this here, okay, because it is privileged information, but I'm speaking as a non-native trying to explain their way of life. But they have a hierarchy of way of doing things, so they literally have to wait for information to be taught to them. There's a certain age where they are initiated, but you see, they have to wait. Whereas in our school, we try to educate them right here and now. So it's a different mindset they're struggling with. Oh, I'm a child, I'm a young one, I'm still learning. I'm not supposed to talk. It should only be the elders.
Yes.
But then we have this shift now where we need to give the youth the mic. The elders are struggling with the changing world and technology and how to cope with these changes. They don't know how. Just like the acquisition of language, it fossilizes after a certain period in time. When you're around 10 to 13 years old, it becomes more difficult to acquire another language easily rather than starting young. So again, it's a different complete mindset, but how do you balance the two and still respect, both cultures, Western culture, modern culture, and traditional Native American culture? And that's kind of the thesis of my whole job right now. I'm trying to find a balance on how to teach that. Morality before mentality. Yes, that's what my husband was trying to, or wanting me to. It's like, think of the essence, or of the right thing before how other. How would you explain this? Morality
Well, it's like the
versus.
7th-generation principle in itself. You're looking.
Sorry, I'm going to share this.
Everything you do, there's a responsibility.
Everything has a purpose.
Yes.
Every
Even
action
your
has a
mentality,
purpose.
your morality is what keeps you responsible, accountable for your mentality.
We are accountable for our mentality. So meaning, like, why do you think someone is dangerous? Why do you think that area is not safe? What have you put into your own mind, into your own understanding, into your own mentality to make you think that? So many people, so many people think that, just generally speaking, Native Americans are drunks, gang members, drug addicts, freeloaders, lazy. And all these are just one side of the coin of a traumatized
Stereotypes.
people. Yes.
Mhm.
And then you totally overlook the
Mhm.
beauty of their successes, the foundations they've created, the
Exactly.
people they've saved, and the mentalities they've shifted and changed simply by being themselves, teaching people
Yes.
how to value water, how to
Mhm.
value the earth, how
Yeah.
to not take the little things for granted that provide you life.
Yes.
And, you
Mhm.
know, it's like the basic necessity of being human, and yet
Yes.
we've forgotten it.
Yeah.
So it's our job right now to show the winning world the more happy side of the Native
Yes.
American narrative.
Well, I won't take up any more of your time. I have enjoyed this conversation. I want you to finish out with that poem that you were going to share with us, and then I'll close it out. And don't close out, because I'll talk to you once we get off live. But yeah, I want you to close it out with that, because I know we'll have many more conversations to come. We have
Glad and
work to
thank you
be
for
done.
it.
We have some things to get on the road. So, but yes, go ahead and share with us that proverb.
So this is a Hopi proverb, and it basically states that you cannot plant corn in a straight line without looking back every now and then.
Mm,
Look back to make sure that you're going in the right direction, not
mm,
simply planting and just going forward aimlessly and not knowing which way. So the Hopi, when they plant corn, they look back, make sure it's straight, then plant and
mhm,
keep going. So if you've heard the term the red road, it kind of also connects to that. Why the Native American way? Why the red road? Why
mm,
do you plant corn and look back?
mhm,
Because you want to learn from the mistakes from the past. You don't want to live in the past. You still want to move forward. You want
yeah,
to see where you're going, and you want to have intention when you move forward to go somewhere better. So you
mhm,
look back.
mm.
And, I get questions like that all the time. Miss P, why do we have to study history? Why is this important?
Well,
Why do I have to
I,
learn?
I listened to how you stated that they do that, and it moves me to think you're going to have me looking at how did they come up with the rearview mirror, because I was talking about how small the rearview mirror is in a
Mhm,
car, and it's
mhm.
the smallest view even on the sides, because even before you change lanes you've got to look.
Glance, just
You've got
glance.
to just glance. So it's not a focusing, but you've
You're
got to
correct.
glance every now and then to make sure you're going where you want to go, versus in a place that maybe you've been. As they say, if you fail to I think know the history, you're bound to repeat it.
Yes, there you go. That's why we need to do this. We need to talk about it, and we need to support our Native American brothers and sisters. It just helps
Yes.
all of us. It helps all
Yeah,
of us.
fail to remember it, you're bound to repeat it. So you've got
Yes.
to remember where you've come from. I love it. But I listen to that and I'm like, everything connects. And that's why we try to, point out all of our differences all the time. But when you hear the little proverbs, hear little stories, at the end of the day, they unify. I mean,
Connect.
they connect. And you can't separate them. They're connected. So
So,
we are so connected, and it's the most beautiful thing if we
Mitakoya
get out of our own heads.
we're all related. There's someone who I think I should connect you to, the
Oh,
white hairs, but that's another conversation.
okay, that's it. Look, you know what? I'm open. I'm open to it. But we're gonna close out. Thank you for joining A Winning World, Kid. I have totally enjoyed you, and tell your husband we've enjoyed him too.
Thank you. This is a blessing in my book as well.
Yes, it
So thank
is.
you.
So
Makes me
a
feel less
winning world
alone
out
on this
there.
road.
Yes, thank you for joining in. And if you're viewing in and seeing, remember to subscribe to our channel. It's free. It's just a click away. Just subscribe when you go to the YouTube, and that way you're able to come online and hear whenever we're doing a new interview, and get the information and truly understand that, you know what, we're all in this thing together. And if you're in the house, we want no lack to be with anyone. There should be no lack. There should be no lack. There's enough for everyone.
Oh,
There
yeah.
is enough for us all, even in job and whatever. So there should be no competition. It should only be lifting, and I just thank you all for joining A Winning World and being here again with me. And I will be back with you again soon. Stay safe and continue to be blessed.
You're
Love, hugs, and kisses. Talk to you soon.